and welcome to the Contrarians, where we're right and you're wrong. Before we get to the show, let's get the pleasantries out of the way.
First of all, our website. If you want more information about our little podcast, go to wearethecontrarians.com. That's where you'll find links to our old episodes, to our Patreon channel, and to our awesome Contrarians merch.
You can show your support by buying a Contrarians mug or a pillow.
I like the laptop bags myself.
Second of all, if you enjoy the show, tell your friends. Or even go a step further and leave us a 5-star review on whatever platform you use to listen to your podcasts.
Finally, if you want to reach out directly to us, that's what social media is for. Find us on Twitter and Instagram at Contrarian Prime, or check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/Contrarian Prime.
Julio runs our official Twitter account at Contrarian Prime, but if you want to give me a piece of your mind or just want to banter about pro wrestling, you can follow me at Contrarian Alex.
That's it. That's our intro.
Now, time for the show.
This is all
And we are recording for Contrarians Corner for Waitress.
Hello. Welcome once again to the Contrarians, where we're right and you're wrong. My name is Alex, joined as always by my co-host, cohort, comrade. That's from another podcast. I didn't come up with that, so I need to give the proper credit to the Attitude Era podcast. That was their introduction. Hello, Julio. We are here on early for us, recording-wise, but it's Friday the 13th now. I don't know when this is coming out. I will try as hard as I can to shoehorn in as many quotes from Friday the 13th as possible throughout this, though.
That seems to fit the movie that we're doing today.
I was about to say, having absolutely nothing to do with the movie that we're covering today. We're here to discuss Waitress, a film that came out in 2007 that really feels like it came out in 2000 or 2001. In my mind, legitimately, when I Google search this, I Googled Waitress 2004. Like, that's when I thought it came out, because I thought it was like in that transitional period between, like, you know, the domination of the sex comedies of the turn of the millennium and then kind of into the art houses of the late 2000s. Like, the 2000s is a fascinating decade in film, and I thought it was like in that middle ground of like women can do shit too. So when I saw that it came out in 2007, I was like, what? So that like immediately blew my mind.
So was it's the opposite of it being ahead of its time?
Yes, absolutely. This feels, you know, without like spoiling how we actually feel about the movie, you know, I felt like this tonally came a little bit too late. But the film of the day, the film du jour, is Waitress from 2007, starring Keri Russell, often referenced, but I don't think have we done a film of hers here, Julio?
No. I mean, we've trashed The Rise of Skywalker pretty thoroughly, and she is in it. You don't see her face. I don't think she's masked entirely. Did you know that?
I feel like I remember reading that. My reference was when we reference her, it's always her scene. Is it Mission Impossible 3? She has a scene in. Okay. Yeah, that's often referenced both on and off air by myself and Julio. Directed by Adrienne Shelley, written by Adrienne Shelley. We'll get into her story, unfortunate story, a little bit more in the second half. But Julio, we are not alone today here tackling the rom-com with Keri Russell, Nathan Fillion.
No.
We have a guest, and
thank God.
Why don't
I can't think of a worse idea than two dudes talking about this movie just on their own without the feminine point of view to rescue them, saving them from saying too many stupid things.
You are not wrong on that. Like, the notes I was taking and shit, I was just like, man, I'm going to have such a problematic view on this movie. I'm glad we have a woman guest here to help us out. Before we introduce our guests, let's go ahead and run down what we do, who we are. Myself, Alex, and Julio, we are the Contrarians. Here on the Contrarians, we like to rage against the Rotten Tomatoes machine. That is our battle cry. We will find a movie on Rotten Tomatoes that is highly rated, a lot of times accompanied with that beautiful IP of Certified Fresh, and we will break down that film, bring it down to size, not just break it down, but bring it down to an even playing field and talk about maybe some of the overrated aspects of it, or just flat out bad aspects that critics, for whatever reason, convince themselves were good. Conversely, we'll find a film that is rotten, one of those nasty green splotches, typically about 30% and below. And as good guests, we'll build that film up. We'll talk about the positive merit in it, some of the things that were overlooked, aspects that deserved celebrating and didn't really get it due to the wicked system that is Rotten Tomatoes. And we do this in an attempt to, number one, prove that, this shit is subjective. You can be as over the moon about something as you want to be, or as downright cynical about something if you really, truly set your mind to it. And that two, a topic that Julio and myself, long before we even hit the record button on a podcast, have been talking about, and that is that the Rotten Tomatoes system is a little bit flawed, and they don't really go out of their way to explain that, and so we do it for you. But that all comprises the first portion of the podcast where we put our contrarian hats on, which we call Contrarians Corner. Julio, if listeners want to know how we really feel about the movie we're discussing, the movie du jour, as I've started to say, they just need to hang around for part 2 or the second half of our podcast.
Correct. Part 2, aptly titled Real Talk. That's where we tell you how we really feel. Not just us, obviously. This time we have a third person that's going to be sharing her thoughts about Waitress. Just full disclosure, I'd seen this movie once before, a long time ago, and we were kind of just chatting before we started recording. There was a lot that I didn't remember about it. So I wouldn't say that this was almost like watching it again for the first time, but it was definitely, it was quite a refresher as far as all the details. I remember the pies, and I think that that's the thing that everybody would remember at least watching it once. And then Alex is watching it for the first time. Did we like it? Do we not like it? Do we have serious problems with how it depicts women and men? You'll find out for sure once we get to Real Talk. But in Contrarians Corner, because this movie's fresh at 89%, we're just going to talk about it as if it was a bad movie, a rotten movie, because that's our gimmick.
It certainly is. All right, Julio. She's anxious. She wants to get in the kitchen with us. So we got to introduce who we have here on the pod with us. Julio, who is joining along for a ride into this Keri Russell vehicle?
That would be Rachel, the most, what did I call you on Twitter? I think I said the most sensitive half of the Yum Yum pod. We've featured her co-host and husband, Ryan, a number of times here in the Contrarians. And, well, now it's time to see what the other Yum looks like and sounds like. So, Rachel, welcome to the show. Introduce yourself.
Thank you. Yes, I do a podcast with my husband called Yum Yum Pod. Its namesake is a line from Star Trek Discovery, which you can hear the full story of basically at the start of any of our episodes. But it's utterly ridiculous. And we dive deep, usually episode by episode, into mostly science fiction TV shows. At the moment, we are working our way through Babylon 5.
That's a show that our listeners have listened a lot to, about. This is, I was so thrown off by your choice. We're doing Waitress because you picked it, Rachel. And
yes,
I told Ryan, just what movie does she want to do on the show? And then he came back with Waitress, and I was like, that's not sci-fi. What happened? What are you playing at here, Rachel? So
I was looking over our DVD collection because Ryan is a massive fan of having physical media. So our DVD collection, because
Pump's
I'm
fist.
a nerd and I have a spreadsheet, we're getting close to 550 DVDs.
Nice.
That includes films, Blu-rays, and TV shows. So I was looking through our cabinet, and because Ryan said, pick a movie, just make sure that they haven't done it before. And I was looking through, and my copy of Waitress has a pink spine because it was done in association with Pink Ribbon Day, which is a charity that works particularly against violence against women, which is another tie-in with the director.
Mm-hmm.
And it stood out, and I was like, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have done Waitress.
You have little faith. I'll have you know that we did Crossroads, the Britney Spears vehicle, a couple of years ago? It's not like we completely stay out of the female-centric movies.
No, but it's a relatively small film. I feel like it's just a lot of people have heard of it more so now since it had the musical adaptation, but it still feels like it's a tiny thing over in the corner.
Well, I don't want you to tell us yet how you actually feel about Waitress. I'm assuming that you're on the positive side just because you own the movie. But then again, both Alex and I own movies that we don't like. So we'll see.
We do have an entire bad movie section of our DVDs with the classic When the Bow Breaks. We also have Big Stan.
Those just sound like movies that Ryan likes.
Yeah, but he likes them because they're bad.
Yeah, I was about to say that the bad movie shelf is just the Ryan movie shelf.
Yeah, but then we also have the separate collection of random movies that we found in op shops that we don't even know what they are. So, like, there's one that Ryan's very excited to watch eventually, which has a woman who is like 9 months pregnant with a knife.
Of course he is. That's the most on-brand thing I've heard all day.
All right. Well, Alex, before we get into the quotes, is there anything else you want to say? Are you going to share what kind of pie you're craving right now?
Earl murders me because I'm having an affair pie. You smash blackberries and raspberries into a chocolate crust. I can't have no affair because it's wrong and I don't want Earl to kill me pie. Vanilla custard with banana. Hold the banana.
You know, everything she made in this looked appetizing. I've never had the sensation to the inclination to fornicate with a pie, not unlike our good friend Jason Biggs, and in this film, Andy Griffith, Matlock, wants to fuck a pie at one point. I've never quite found a pie that I enjoy that much, but I'm a big fan, so this movie, you know, appealed to at least some of my senses, and obviously the senses of most of the critics that logged onto Rotten Tomatoes, because as you said, 89%. That's a good one. What were they saying? Were they praising Nathan Fillion's unlikely sexiness?
Is the sexiness that sneaks up on you all the way from Canada? No, you know what? I pulled 4 quotes and none of them mentioned Fillion. I'm pretty sure there's like over 100 quotes and fresh quotes on Rotten Tomatoes for this movie, and I'm sure that somebody there mentions him. But come on, Alex, this is a movie about women, so of course the quotes are about the women that are in the movie. So we're gonna start with
Fair.
Jeff Weiss from Desert News, Salt Lake City, who says, "Waitress has some unexpected twists and turns and features some refreshingly offbeat humor as well as terrific performances by its cast in general. They don't single out anybody." Did you, Alex, recognize any of the small characters? I told you when we were texting, I am thrilled that you know who Matlock is. I thought that me being the oldest person on this recording was going to be the only one that was going to be throwing around Matlock jokes. So I'm glad that you know who Matlock is. Rachel, do you know Andy Griffith from anything, or you just know him from Waitress?
I mostly know him, but I also know the Andy Griffith Show.
Oh, well, that's right. You guys grew up in the speaking English.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, how are you surprised we know who he is? Andy Griffith was on syndication on every channel here when I was growing up. So
not in Peru.
No. So this is like I don't know if it's irony, but we should be happy that you know who Matlock is, because you're the weird foreign speaking outcast in this situation.
I've been in the United States pretty much half my life by now, and this is the first time that I've heard anybody reference Matlock. So that'll tell you how odd it is. Maybe it's just because it's Texas. I don't know.
And it's outdated. Like, who's watching Matlock now?
Well, I mean, I'm sure there are reruns somewhere. Nick at Night.
Oh yeah,
maybe?
I can't say I've ever actually watched a full episode of it. I just knew of it because it was
Like,
always
what streaming
on.
service is Matlock on?
Does Nickelodeon have like a streaming service, or are they just cable?
I don't
It seems
know
like
anymore,
something
man.
that would be on Peacock, maybe. I don't know. All right. Let's move on to Phil Villarreal from the Arizona Daily Star, who says, writer-director Adrian Shelley's Waitress serves up a slice of movie time heaven. Massive percentage of these quotes that I found in all over Rotten Tomatoes will do wordplay with the idea of pie and slices and
as they should,
baking something delicious in the in the cinema oven and all that stuff. So I had to call out Phil here for being the first one that had the slice word there. Next, Brian Martyr from Hollywood.com says, Waitress is exclusively about the female point of view, which is quite refreshing. Now, Brian is talking about the meat of the movie here. Rachel, obviously, you would have experienced this movie differently from Alex and I.
Mhm.
Still, like when you watch it, and you don't have to go into too much detail because we'll really talk about it in real talk, but when you watch this movie, do you go like, yes, these are my people and and men suck? Or do you can you like
I'll-
see like as a general picture of humanity?
I guess a little bit of both because, like, I always just think of this movie as being about people. And it's just like all of them have their own things going on, good and bad. But Earl is a piece of shit.
I was gonna say some
That's
are
the
worse
main
than
thing.
others.
Yeah, like it's all on a spectrum.
Alex, did you feel like the movie was kind of like leaving you out? Because it didn't cater. It catered to the female point of view, which is, as far as I know, not the point of view that you have. You're the male wrestling fan point of view.
I didn't feel left out. I felt bored, but I didn't feel left out. I mean, this might already bleed a little bit into real talk, but like, this isn't a movie that I felt was intentionally trying to leave behind male viewers, and that's fine. This is certainly real talk. Women deserve their own stories too, as do minorities. So if the movie wants to leave me out, I'm fine with that. But I didn't
It
feel at
doesn't
any point.
have to be for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
You never felt like, wait, where is the counterpart? Where is Waiter?
No, we had
Watch
Nathan Fillion.
Waiting for that.
Yeah, like the thing I love about it is you have Nathan Fillion, who's like really sweet and really, he's really gentle with her and really kind and caring. But then you're reminded it's just because he fucking hates his wife and he's having an affair. So it's like, oh, men are gentle, but they're still assholes at the end of the day, which is by and large true.
And finally, let's close with Robert Dinerstein from Denver Rocky Mountain News, who says, look, Waitress is no groundbreaker, and it's not likely to change anyone's life, but it provides a showcase for Russell, who knows how to make the most of it. And here, I will point something that I'm going to bring up through Contrarians Corner and also through Real Talk, and that is that somehow movies just can't figure out Keri Russell as a movie star. TV figured out Keri Russell. I think that when you look at her career on TV, she did Felicity back at the beginning, and more recently she did The Americans, and those are kind of like bookends of a pretty amazing career. But then you look at what she's done in movies, and you're like, we know you're good, but for some reason they just can't quite make you a star. Like they cast her in like small roles, or you mentioned Mission Impossible, Alex. They kill her off 10 minutes in. It's just, why is it so hard to turn Keri Russell into, let's say, Jennifer Lawrence, right? Why isn't Keri Russell in the Hunger Games? That's why isn't she in the MCU? You will hear me complain about this all throughout. How familiar are you with Keri Russell's career, Rachel? As familiar as you are with Andy Griffith's?
Yeah, like I know of her, and I definitely know the name, but it's like, ask me to list off things that she's in. I'm like, well, she technically was in Rise of Skywalker, right?
There you go. That will be your safest answer. People will be like, oh yeah, that was a big movie that she was in.
Dude, I completely forgot her first movie was Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. That fucking rules.
I didn't know that.
I have a bonus quote.
Go
if
for
you
it.
would like. So there was it's not from Rotten Tomatoes though, because in Australia we had a long-standing show called At the Movies, which you may have heard Ryan talk about before. But it was two Australian film critics, and it was like a staple of Australian TV for like decades. And they're like probably the two most prominent film critics, and they're known for like having jabs at each other and usually liking very different films. So I thought that I might share a quote from their review.
Okay. I honestly, I kept waiting for you to say that their names were Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel, and I was going to have to just somehow tell you that they're American, not Australian.
No, it's David Stratton and like it's David and Margaret. Like we know, like I never really called them by their last name, like their last names. It's David and Margaret. But I'll give you his quote about Nathan Fillion. Unfortunately, she's pregnant. Something only the new doctor in town, Nathan Fillion, knows about. And the doctor is pretty sexy. That's part of his synopsis of the film.
I mean, all those things are true. No misleading there. I think that we've set up the table pretty thoroughly. We can start serving the pies in the form of Contrarians Corner. Alex, take us to Contrarians Corner.
Shh. I'm inventing a new pie in my head. Tomorrow's Blue Plate Special. I'm calling it I Don't Want Earl's Baby Pie.
I don't think we can write that on the menu board, hon.
Then I'll just call it Bad Baby Pie.
The story of Waitress is the story of Keri Russell, who plays Jenna Hunterson. She's a waitress living in the American South, trapped in an unhappy marriage with her controlling and abusive husband, Earl. She works at Joe's Pie Diner, where her job includes creating inventive pies with unusual titles inspired by her life, such as the Bad Baby Pie she invents after unintended pregnancy is confirmed. She longs to run away from her dismal marriage and is slowly accumulating money to do so. She pins all her hopes on an escape for a pie contest in a nearby town, which offers $25,000 as the prize, but her husband won't let her go. Upon learning she is pregnant, he demands she promise never to love the baby more than him. So that's kind of the introductory statement to this. And I mean, it doesn't take long. I appreciate that. It gets right to the point. We establish she's a waiter at this diner, or waitress, excuse me, and that she's pregnant and she's not particularly psyched about it. And we learn just how fucked up the relationship is with her husband, because it was the last time they had sex, which was, 6 weeks ago, and it's only because she got her drunk. And this Earl fella is a real piece of shit, which just like, I don't know. For y'all, did they do enough to establish if she tried to leave him, he would kill her? Because I just thought, like, dude, just get in a car and drive away.
But he's so controlling and financially abusive that she can't. She doesn't feel like she can. He's beaten her down so much that, she has a line, like, he won't let me get a car. He won't let me go anywhere.
I mean, it is Jeremy Sisto, like the bad boy of TV in the early 2000s. So I think that the way they established it, Alex, was the laziest possible way, which is they cast the guy from 6 Feet Under. And I mean, this is before he softened up and he was in what's that TV show that he had where he was a single father. Suburgatory. Yes, Suburgatory. That's Jeremy Sisto now. Like, that's nice, Jeremy Sisto. But this is from his dangerous years, where all you had to do was like see him on screen and then you felt uncomfortable. I mean, that's fine. I think that the movie just goes to the TV well a lot in its production, right? So you have Keri Russell, TV star, Jeremy Sisto, TV star, Cheryl Hines. Like, I was like, okay, am I crazy or is she mostly a TV actress? And I was looking at her filmography, and I mean, she kind of goes back and forth, but it's also just mostly like a TV. Her biggest roles seem to be on TV, and then of course Matlock. We've already waxed poetic Andy Griffith's career. It's wild that I think the biggest movie star in this movie is the guy from Ocean's 11, the dork from Ocean's 11 who gets transplanted to be a dork in Waitress. So we'll talk about him. But as far as Jeremy Sisto goes, who is he? Where do I know him from?
Well, Alex should know him.
Is he in a horror movie or is he a wrestler?
Horror.
Cal.
The cook, I guess the manager of the diner.
Yeah, now I'm second guessing. I knew he looked familiar. What should I know him from?
I believe he's in Halloween.
Oh,
if
right.
that
Hold
guy's in
on
Halloween,
now.
Alex, and you didn't recognize him, I'm just going to strip you from your horror fan bona fides.
I know this. Ryan told me to dress Alex down if he didn't know this. So I'm taking his word for it.
Oh, he's the dude from He's in Devil's Rejects is what he's in. Okay. Yes.
Okay, that's not as
He's
bad,
real-
but it's still pretty bad.
I do love the Devil's Rejects. He's also in Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning, which is a terrible, terrible movie. And yeah, he's in Rob Zombie's Halloween. He ain't in a real Halloween, so let's calm down now.
Okay,
Quick
well,
defense there.
He was also in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So this guy, he's got a real white trash look, and now I can already picture him in Devil's Rejects and in Rob Zombie's Halloween. He's got that real nasty, fucking greasy look about him. So good call out.
so are you saying that if he was playing the husband, Keri Russell's husband, would it be easier for you to buy that she just can't escape? Because there's a guy that's
maybe
been-
it's just like, I don't know. I again, I don't know what it's like to be a woman, but it's just the notion of if it's that bad, just fucking kill him or just get in a car and drive away. That type of thing.
Accidents happen all the time.
That's right. He seems like a real fucking lousy drunk. He could just fall off the roof and no one would believe it was anything weird.
And nobody would mourn him either.
No. We get the exact opposite though of Jeremy Sisto. I'm glad y'all know who he was because I had no fucking clue. But we find that the new is it OBGYN? That
Yes.
shows how much of a guy I am right there. The new gynecologist, the doctor for Keri Russell, she comes in expecting her, the one she was delivered by, she quotes. That's like that Parks and Rec line where Ron talks about the woman that delivered him. She's like, no, she delivered me and I've been coming here, since then type thing. But Nathan Fillion is the new doctor in town, Dr. Jim Pomatter. And why? I think we get our answer here. But is it weird to y'all that Nathan Fillion never became like a big bona fide movie star? He just not much going on there.
But again, TV is Nathan Fillion. I think that he's more impressive in the small
Yep.
screen. You have him on Firefly, you have him on Castle. He's on a new show now where he plays a cop, I think. I don't know, but that's his bread and butter. I mean, he was in
The classic Drive.
it's true. He's all over your TV memories if you've been paying attention. I think that's it. Look, that's the thing with this movie, right? Like it's kind of like what I was saying about Keri Russell. Is it cheaper, like production wise? Like, do you save money, at least in this era of American filmmaking, if you go for big names on TV rather than going for small names in film? Was that the kind of trade off they were doing? And
Yeah.
so I guess production wise, it makes sense.
Definitely was.
Yeah, but marketing wise, I don't know. I'm sure you. And when we get to real talk, you're gonna hit us with the box office numbers, Alex. But I wonder how many people went to see Waitress because it's the girl from Felicity and the guy from, at that time it would have been what, Firefly, and then not enough people show up maybe, and then then they don't make another movie. Instead, they go back to TV where they've been doing really well. I don't know. I mean, I look at Nathan Fillion and I'm like, he's okay. I guess he's in this movie. I kind of buy him as the big fish in a small pond because it doesn't. They kind of stack the deck to favor him, right? It's him and Jeremy Sisto as the two main men. And Oogie, who almost doesn't even count. So you have those three
And
people.
Cal's there too.
I was about to say
He gets
Cal's
a
not
big-
available, but he's actually too available, as it turns
Yeah.
out.
He gets a full makeout session in the kitchen.
Yeah, that's true. But still, Kyle, he's painted as a grump. Ogie is painted as a dork, and Sisto is painted as a monster. So, of course, Nathan Fillion, there's no way that he doesn't come across as the best out of everything that's available.
Yeah.
But is it his talent, or is it just that the movie surrounded him with a bunch of losers and psychos? So, I guess to answer your question, Alex, I think that at least this early in the 2000s, they were not letting Nathan Fillion sink or swim on the strength of his acting abilities, and instead they were just building a world around him that allowed him to shine, if that makes any sense.
Who are you?
I'm your doctor. Oh, wow, you brought me a pie. How nice. You know what, I've only been here a few weeks, but already I am genuinely impressed with the hospitality of this place.
You're not my doctor. Lily Mueller is my doctor. This pie is for her. It's Marshmallow Mermaid, her favorite.
Well, she's semi-retired now. Just what happened this morning, she kind of quit. We didn't have time to call anybody.
We find out who Joe is at Joe's Pie Diner. That is Andy Griffith, Matlock himself, who's just a crotchety old man who really has an affinity for Jenna, though, despite the fact that he just like fucking barks orders at her and says, he's the mafia guy from the Office, basically. Like, if there's ice in it, I send it back. If it's burnt, I send it back. That type of thing.
How does this depiction, how does this character match with what you guys, and I'm assuming most of the world, have in their minds when they see that Andy Griffith is going to be in a movie? Because, yes, we've established that my Griffith experience is very limited. I see him as a lawyer. I see him as a small-town lawyer that's got a smart-ass. That was what Matlock was, just from what I remember. And so this is almost like, it's not like I'm seeing a hero of my childhood be, having grown into an angry old man.
Curmudgeon.
Curmudgeon, right? But for people like you and most of the people watching this movie, I imagine that has to be different, right? It's like Andy Griffith in the Andy Griffith Show must have been a beloved figure. Then you see him here, and it's just, was it off-putting to just see him play this character when he should have been somebody that was, a little nicer, right? Especially because he's just so, he's had such an illustrious career. It would be like, I don't know, who do we have that's really old? And it's kind of like when you see De Niro these days, just playing really off-putting characters, and you're like, you're too old for this. You just walk away with some dignity. It was the same thing, I guess, watching Andy Griffith here, just kind of debasing his image for the sake of small-town comedy.
Yeah, it'd be like F. Murray Abraham just kind of showing up in the next fucking Marvel movie. It'd be really fucking ejecting. Like the reaction I had, it was like, holy shit, it's Matlock. Like, that's just the reason he's there, is to exist and kind of give people the nostalgia pop and distract them from the fact that this movie's 30 minutes too long and the story's really like paint by numbers and there's really not much to it.
It's like, who's an old man that we can get? That's what it felt like to me. It didn't feel like they were like, ooh, let's get Andy Griffith because it'll be a like subversion of expectations, because he usually played like really nice guys. So he's going to be a cranky old man. It's just like, who's an elderly man that will say yes to this part that'll probably take like 4 days to film. He just gets to sit down for the majority of his scenes. And then it'll probably take like half a day to film him wandering in, giving her a card, being a bit of a dick to her husband, who we hate, so it's fine, and then walking out. Who's going to say yes to that?
It was going to be Joanne's diner, but Cloris Leachman was busy, so they're like, fuck, we got to get a dude now. And so they cast Matlock here.
And Carol Burnett turned him down.
The story continues, and no one can know I'm pregnant. I want to run away. It's, changed the record already. But upon visiting Nathan Fillion the first time, she provides a pie that she brought for who she thought was her doctor. It was a pie she made specifically for her. Nathan Fillion runs into her again. And the reason I bring this up is because the quote I wrote down, he described the pie as biblically good. I was like, Jesus, man.
Exactly.
How good is that pie? Yeah, thank you. Unfortunately, though, we go from something kind of fun and lighthearted like that to the flashback to how she was impregnated. And man, Julio, in our years doing this, we've had to cover some pretty unfortunate and off-putting sex scenes, but this was just awful, man. We get the night that, she said she was all drunk, but she doesn't appear to be really drunk. I guess she just had enough to the point where she just like allowed it to happen. Because Earl,
wait, no, I don't think it's a flashback.
No, I know.
It was like,
that's not a
yeah,
flashback.
it's present day
It's not?
sex.
That's the night, and she's just like, "Oh well, I'm already pregnant."
Because he even comments on her
And-
boobs being bigger.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, it's been like over a month.
oh,
About 6 weeks."
I mean, it is still very off-putting.
No, and she's not wearing the dress.
okay. I thought that was okay. The way I read that was like in her mind, this is what happened, and so I'm glad I have y'all here to clarify that because it makes it kind of even worse. Because this.
Yeah.
The sex scene where she got pregnant serves a purpose because she, got pregnant. But this, man, Earl's just like a piece of shit in this movie. It could not try harder to go out of his way to establish him as that. It almost got to a point
No.
where I was sympathetic for Earl because I was like, this movie could not do more to make me hate Earl.
Yeah, there's nothing redeemable about him, and they just layer it on scene after scene after scene. Like, everything he does is the most annoying version of that thing. I always think of how he drives up and he honks.
Every
He
time.
starts honking like 30 seconds before he gets, and then just keeps on going, even though he can see her. He's still honking.
There is a completely definite contrast between his bravado when he's driving or when he's just walking around boasting in front of her and his performance in bed. Because yes,
When he says, "Oh yeah, that was really good," it's just like, have you ever had good sex, man?
It's the cut to like 10 seconds later.
That did not look enjoyable at all.
It was just like a combination of, the performance, because Keri Russell, like I said, she's a good actress, so she can sell the fact that she is 100% not into this. And then, it's the way it's shot was just like this static shot that is not sexy at all. And then it's just like,
And it's not
his sounds.
intimate either. Like, it's close up on their faces, but it does not feel intimate.
But then he has his dialogue, and this is really like where you're right, Alex. I mean, I don't feel bad for the character. I feel bad for the actor, for Jeremy Sisto, who has to be there on top of Keri Russell and basically beg her to tell him how much she wants him and come on, baby, kiss me back.
Talk dirty to me. What do you want me to say? And then he comes.
that was it. Yeah, he was like, she's like, what am I supposed to say? And he's, man, what kind of issues does this guy have?
But see, Alex, you and I, we watched that and we look down on him for his poor performance, and whereas I guess most women watch that and they go like, yep, that's how it is most of the time. Like we watch that scene and we are 100% sure that we are better than Sisto, the Jeremy Sisto, whereas like women watch that.
It's an ego boost for the men watching.
Yeah, whereas like women watch that and they're like, yep, that's a guy.
Well, in my mind, I like to think I'm better than that, but now I'm second guessing. So who knows? Speaking of which, we get introduced to Ogie, Crazy Ogie, I have in my notes here, who seems like the village idiot, and he's pining after Dawn, played by the writer-director Adrian Shelley. And this is something I don't particularly enjoy about the movie. We're kind of going to jump ahead here, but he's painted here as the stalker slash, if this was a horror movie, he'd be suspect number one of like who's killing all these teens and whatnot. And then, I guess Dawn thinks she has no better prospects in life or anything, and she just, by the end of the movie, she's married to him, and she
happy,
thinks
allegedly,
and this is the way to go. For the messages this movie tries to tell of you control your own destiny, women have a say in things, and it tries to be this strong message for that. But then Dawn is just this happenstantial woman who just one day is like, oh, I don't have enough prospects, so I'm going to marry this guy that's borderline stalking me. Very conflicting messages that this movie's sending.
Well, that's a question that I wanted to ask is, what is the moral of this movie?
Well, clearly that women are at their happiest when they're cooking. That's the only time that Keri Russell really smiles is when she's making a pie in the kitchen, where she belongs, apparently.
And when she starts the affair, that's like the smiling montage.
Oh, well then, yeah.
Is when she's like, oh, I have a secret. I'm fucking my doctor.
It really just feels like when the movie's over, the message is, if you have a kid, every single problem in your life will go away.
Yeah, your kid trumps everything. And that fable of insta-love, as soon as you hold your baby in the instant bond and nothing else matters.
Yeah, but it doesn't hurt if you befriend an old man with money. Because when...
But that's before she knows that she has the money. She's just like, nah, I'm not gonna let Lulu be exposed to his bullshit.
I think that this movie sits at this really weird moment of transition where, specifically about the Ogie character, I think that those characters used to work, I don't know, a couple decades ago. We slowly phased them out, or we slowly learned that this type of behavior was not romantic or cute, but instead it was the kind of thing that we should be wary of.
Sort of de-evolution of the nice guy.
Yeah.
Where it used to be like, oh, she'll warm up to him.
Yes.
He's a good guy. And now we're like, you think you're entitled to her because you went on a 5-minute date that wasn't even set up for you. Your cousin sent you instead of him and then gave her number to you, and you stalk her at her place of work, where she's also a waitress, which is another sort of red flag, people flirting with waitresses, right? It's another layer of unacceptability to his behavior that the movie says, like, oh, isn't it nice? He says he's never going to give her up.
It's really weird.
He loves her after 5 minutes.
Oh, no. I don't want you as my waitress. I want her. Dawn, that lady right there.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, honey, but you're sitting in my station. All the tables in Dawn's station are taken.
No, but I don't want you. I want her.
Well, if you want to eat in this diner, you got to sit here, and I got to wait on you.
She a good friend of yours? What can you tell me about her? What is her likes and dislikes? What does she look for in a man?
Honey, I'm just here to bring you pie or coffee or something like that. I don't dispense romantic advice.
What if I paid you?
I think I'm inclined to blame it on the performance, because I think that he goes so big that he just comes across as deranged. He doesn't come, because I can see if you show up with somebody and that person shows some interest, maybe you can play with that gray area where, like, all right, there is a line, and as long as he doesn't cross it, he can continue to show interest, right? But he jumps over the line and literally says, "I am never giving up." And everything he says is what now we've learned are red flags, it just doesn't work. And this is put as a big love story in the movie, something that in a way we're supposed to compare Jenna's story to. Right? Like when she looks and she sees her friend is happy and married, and this guy does poems for her and all that stuff. But it doesn't work. It's I guess I was surprised and then disappointed that the movie took him seriously, because I thought that he was brought in so we could point and laugh at him, but instead he was brought as a suitor that we were supposed to take seriously and embrace.
Catching up to speed here. All right, so let's start with Earl here. Earl finds her at a bus stop with her suitcase packed, and she's trying to get the fuck out of there, and he fucking hits her. It's a startling moment in the movie, because it, up until this point,
slaps her.
Yeah, it's got a fairly light tone to it, and that kind of changes it. And through this, she tells him that she's pregnant, and that's what I made allusion to there with our plot summation at the beginning. He becomes jealous that she's going to love the baby more than him. She has the line of like, "You're jealous of the baby," just kind of like incredulous. And so he's becoming more and more possessive and more dangerous. All the while, Nathan Fillion, her doctor, Dr. Jim, an affair buds out of this. They both are, I guess, just kind of come across each other at the right point in their lives, in the sense of they're both unhappy in their current circumstances and are both attracted to one another. And we get several scenes of some big kissing action, both, that are kind of punctuated with comedy, in the sense of no kissing outside or no kissing when the door's open, that type of thing.
They're not sexy kisses.
Not at all. That's the thing. You got two, good-looking people, and it doesn't really pay off in a carnal sense for the viewing audience. But a lot of kissing, a lot of heavy petting, and they have the scene where they explain to each other, what's going on in his office. Keri Russell, he says, "Don't do that." She says, "I'm sorry. Don't do what?" It's actually pretty funny, and it's just a really weird, really unsexy. It's whatever the polar opposite of Wild Things is what happens here. And he gets up and he storms out of the office and he says, "I wish it were Friday." And I guess they're both just kind of confused about their situations in life, and they have this conversation that doesn't really go anywhere. But then after that, we get this montage of how happy Keri Russell is with her life now.
I mean, the sex must be amazing.
Well, she says that it was mostly about
That's
the
true.
sex
She's writing a letter to her unborn kid and telling her about the time she cheated on her dad.
in the baby journal that her friends gave her to try and make her excited about the pregnancy.
I guess when you're having sex, like the kind of sex she was having with Jeremy Sisto, anything is a step up. So whatever Fillion was doing, even if it was clumsy and not particularly sexy, it was an improvement. So yeah, that's where she gets the big smile. I think that it's a missed opportunity that we never really get to take a peek at Nathan Fillion's marriage, because I think that would have made it a little more complicated in a good way. Because right now, because we never see his wife until the very end, we just kind of assume that, well, he must have, his reasons, and you don't have to think about her because you haven't met her. So it's easier to just buy this affair and not really resent Jenna, Keri Russell, for being a homewrecker. But that's kind of like the movie cheating.
But the wife doesn't find out, so she's not a homewrecker.
That's true.
That's what the film ends up trying to say. And it's just like, no. She's like, "Oh, your wife really trusts you. I'm not going to ruin that by telling her that you had an affair with me, so we're not going to do this in public." It's like, no, that trust is still broken, whether she knows it or not. He knows that he's cheated on his wife. And either he's going to keep it a secret for the rest of their marriage, or eventually break down and tell her long after the fact, because he seems to have no plans of telling her and no regrets about the affair that he had with Jenna.
I mean, you can tell that if it was up to him, this would have gone on forever.
Yeah, like if her waters hadn't broken, they would have run away together.
That's true. Nathan Fillion is a bad dude. He's a different kind of bad than Jeremy Sisto, but he's still a bad person.
But he's still very problematic.
Yeah, I think that's a thing.
And the film tries to pretend like he's not.
That's the problem.
Like when she's just like, he doesn't take no for an answer either. None of the male characters in the film take no for an answer. Joe doesn't. Cal doesn't. Her husband definitely doesn't. And Nathan Fillion doesn't either. When she's just like, "I don't think we should keep going," he's just like, "No, we're doing this. We're having an affair." And she's like, "Oh, okay."
But then she tries to.
I'm gonna come back in on Friday.
She tries to sell it like it's this like they start having a deep connection. And again, that's the movie cheating, because we never hear these wonderful conversations that they're having. She just writes on her journal.
We get the montage of them on the phone, And I think that's after he shows up at her house.
Yeah, so they can bake
Like,
together.
They can bake, and it's so annoying because I really love the sentiment that she has when she's just like, "Baby, I just want somebody to hold you for 20 minutes straight, and they don't look away, they don't try and kiss you. There's not an ounce of selfishness to it. Like, they just want to be there and hold you." That's a really beautiful line.
Until you remember.
And it makes no sense with their relationship.
It's all very nice and well, but only because she's not mentioning that the man that's holding her is married and lying to his wife.
Okay. Now is the time, I think, to talk about Nathan Fillion's marriage.
What is there to it?
So they've moved from Connecticut to somewhere in the South. Like, she refers to a highway, and that means nothing to me as an Australian. I don't even know if it's a real highway. It's got a number, so, probably.
There you go.
And he's just like, we moved here from Connecticut for my wife's residency. So his wife is a resident, and he is a junior doctor, which means that he's just finished his residency, which likely means that they would have met when their power dynamic was separated, because he would have been at least, if not a fellow or the head resident, when she was an intern, because she's just started her residency, which means that she's just finished her internship and he's just finished his residency. So when did they get together? And was it a power difference at the start of their relationship as well? And one of the reasons why he's maybe lost interest is because being a resident is fucking hard. She doesn't have the time for him that he maybe wants. And she's gained more power. She's closer to him than she was at the start of his relationship with her.
And she doesn't cook for him anymore. She doesn't
So
make him
maybe
pies.
he's just a manipulative son of a bitch.
Yeah. Like, maybe that's part of what attracts him to women, is that sense of helplessness and I can guide you. Because he still doctors Jenna through her pregnancy. Like, he switches between those two sort of roles of I'm guiding you and I'm your romantic partner. And he wants those two things together.
She even tells him, I don't need you to save me. I don't want you to save me. But then he's pretty much about to save her, except that her water breaks.
Yeah, he wants to do that. And I think that that's a part of what attracts that character to Jenna, as well as their like sort of immediate connection. And I'm like, well, back when this film came out, we definitely were more accepting of those sorts of relationships that start off with a power imbalance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Much like Ogie. It hasn't aged well.
I was going to say, much like Juno.
Jenna, get dressed. Meet me outside. I'll be there in 10 minutes. We're going someplace. We might even run away. We'll figure it out. I mean it.
We eventually find out just kind of randomly that Becky, Cheryl Hines, is having an affair with Carl Lou Temple, who I made sure not to look it up. I racked my brain and figured out who he is in Halloween. And he has, sadly, a bigger part in the director's cut than he does in the theatrical version. Sadly, in the sense that the scene that's portrayed is really fucking gross. But I figured it out. So, Ryan, you win this round, I guess. And so this affair is happening, and so it kind of gives Jenna a bit of perspective on what's going on, because Becky's married and has this invalid husband,
and they've set up that she has a secret, but she's not telling them what's going on, and they're both deeply offended that she's not telling them every single thing that happens in her life, because how dare she?
Yeah, Becky kind of gets offended by some of the judgmental tone that Jenna pushes at her, but then it causes, like, obviously introspection with Jenna. this all kind of culminates at the wedding we referenced earlier, where Dawn marries Ogie in the diner in the most white trash thing I've ever fucking seen.
Yes. I'm like, why get married at the diner?
Because you can reuse the set.
It just seems like it.
Yeah,
it's just for reusing the set. Because this film does feel very low budget in that way. Like, it's like they've got these locations and that's it.
But Earl comes and crashes the party and all but literally drags Jenna out of there, takes her home, and he finds the cash that she's been hiding around the house. Again, one of those things. Why didn't you just fucking open a bank account? You know how many people have bank accounts they hide from their significant others? Millions around the world. Just,
is this Jeremy Sisto's Oscar clip, Alex?
I guess, because he does cry here, right?
Yeah. I think, I don't know, do you guys feel like this was the moment where we're supposed to feel sympathy for him? Because he falls to his knees, he cries, he reveals his insecurities.
I hope not, because they make him a caricature of like a bad person.
Yeah. I always just get I've watched this film a number of times, and I always get distracted that like he falls down and then somehow she falls onto his lap, and I'm like, how is this working? And she's just kind of like, well, I'm trapped now. And it's just like he's being really vulnerable, and it's just like, I feel like she should be smart enough to have an answer ready. Like, she knows the risks of hiding the money all over the house. And I also don't buy, even if she couldn't set up a bank account, because she can't go anywhere without him knowing about it, right? Because he tracks all of her movements. He wants to know where she is at all times. He'll randomly call her workplace and demand to talk to her. Give the money to Dawn. Like, you trust her enough to tell her all of this. Have like a box at her house where she's keeping the money for you.
I mean, it's not like Ogie's going to take it.
No.
But I think I think that the biggest obstacle that this movie had while I was watching it was exactly that. That I think that the Keri Russell persona is too smart. The persona she projects, like me knowing her from, again, Felicity, The Americans, those roles that she takes, where she's just a smart, capable person, and you need her to tone that down to be believable in this movie. And I just don't think that they get there. Every time, it's what you were saying, Alex. It's like, why doesn't she leave him? And I know that the response on paper is that, well, he overpowers her psychologically. But when I'm watching the movie, I'm like, no, that's Keri Russell. Nobody overpowers Keri Russell like that. She would figure it out.
When she flips at the end and she gets kind of that sense of herself back, and it's just like, that was there the whole time. Yep. I never believed that you weren't capable of that moment. And they made it so in the script, it's her love for her daughter that gives her the motivation and the confidence, and she goes angry mum mode and kicks him out and goes, I'm fed up with this. I want a divorce. Get out of here.
Yeah, she finally becomes the Keri Russell that we were watching all along. Like, I knew you had it in you. I just didn't buy it that she wasn't smarter than this. Yeah, she wouldn't have hid the money there. She wouldn't have just put up with his shit. All that.
For years. And she has a line where she's just like, I know that my mum would be sad if she saw my life like this, and that Earl changed when we got married. Which means that it was like flipping a switch, which does happen with people. Like, as soon, abusive people get people locked into marriages and then change their personality because now the other person feels trapped. But it's just like, well, he wouldn't have worn her down that much. So why didn't she leave when the marriage fell apart? Like, there's lots of points in between where you think she would have gotten to the point where she was like, no, I can't put up with this anymore. But it's like, well, the film needs it to be this moment.
Yep.
And not before.
Yeah, just important to call out right now. It's the female that's saying she was asking for it, not either of the two guys on here. All right. So
No, I think that there's a lot of reasons that people don't leave. And sometimes it genuinely takes a number of times for people to leave abusive partners. And not trying to negate that, but it doesn't feel true to this character that none of this would make her go, no, that's enough.
But yeah, we reach the climax. We mentioned already they're going to run away. Her water breaks. She's in labor. We're introduced to Fillion's wife at this point, or Dr. Jim's wife, and also Earl's there being a real bag of shit. Right before, it goes into the push phase, Joe shows up because he's in there having surgery as well. He leaves a card behind for Jenna that'll come back into play here in just a moment. She has her baby. It's a girl. Earl is very underwhelmed and almost to the point of being apathetic towards the fact that
he's
he has
pissed.
he has a fucking
I read
child.
it as he's pissed because he's like, he only ever said, we're going to have a baby. We're going to have a boy. He did not consider the possibility that he would have a daughter.
Well, he does, so owned. She has this kid, and then she holds it, and I guess her life changes in that one moment, and she tells Earl, we're done, I want a divorce. If you ever come near me, I'll kill you. I'm like, I'm not really sure how that holds up, Like, I'm not really sure that's how this goes down in court, but, she definitely puts the fear of God in him, and as she's being wheeled away, because... they get one last jab in the American medical system here. They're like, well, Earl left, so you have to leave because they're not paying for it anymore.
He's refusing to pay, which I'm like, do you have to pay immediately? Like, and also how much time has passed? Because they're talking about it like it's been days. Like, oh, he got admitted at the same time as you, which indicates it's been further away. And it's like he had his surgery, he went into recovery, he went into a coma. But it's like she just had birth, kicked her husband out, and went to sleep. And now we're waking up and she's getting kicked out. And it's just like, wait, how quick do they demand funds?
Oh, there's a deleted scene somewhere where she gets the bill. And they have to cut
collection notice?
Yes. They had to cut it because that was too much of a downer.
Yeah, that was too much of a downer. The implied rape and abuse, and not even implied abuse, but that was a downer. But let's not remind people how much it fucking sucks to get sick or have a baby in America. All right, so she's getting wheeled out by her friends, Dawn and Cheryl, or Becky, excuse me, Cheryl.
And also, why did the hospital staff tell them that they're kicking her out? Like, nobody came directly to get Jenna. They told her friends, not even, family. Even though, and they, it's just like all Joe had to tell them to get in was, I'm kin. And they let him in. But now they're just like, oh yeah, we're friends of Jenna. Okay, well, you need to tell her to get out, and we're not going to send any staff to do it. We're just kicking her out. Can you go tell her for us? Because, we don't really want to deal with that.
Because we have paying customers that we have to take care of.
It was a huge missed opportunity that all the fucking dumb people here in America that were, refusing vaccines and shit, their excuse to be like, that's HIPAA. They should have used that line right here of, why did they tell you and not me? And then Cheryl Hines just says, that's HIPAA.
Oh.
So as they're wheeling her out, Nathan Fillion runs up and, just...
He's like, oh, you're leaving?
Yeah, kind of rightly, though. He's just like, so what happens now? And
yeah,
she's just
we were about to run away together. Is that still on? You have a newborn now. And
you fuck off. That's what's going to happen now. Yeah, she basically tells him, this is over. And it's the most mature thing, the most grown-up thing in the entire movie, where she's just like, it was great, and it was real, and it was really great. But, it's over. And Julio, I was quoting Elizabethtown just for you there. But
I appreciate it.
She basically just says, we can have a drama here now, or we can just drop it and say bye-bye. And she's like, I'm saying bye-bye. And they wheel her off, and she comes back, and she gives him a moon pie, and he kind of has that's kind of why I thought it was earlier, really close to the turn of the millennium, because he has that thing where he looks at it, and he looks back at her and gets that smirk, and he's kind of like, has that kind of just like positive exhale. And, moon pies
He
are
was in
fucking
it for the
delicious.
food.
Well, I was about
That's
to say,
it.
moon pies are fucking delicious, so he dives right into it. And then she just admits straight up, her friend's like, who is that? It's like, oh, I had an affair with him. And they're like, oh, you whore, ha, 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 or whatever they say. And then, as with any great film, we ended on a montage where we see she won the pie contest. And then the most defeating part of it all is it ends and we see she opened her own shop, but it's just fucking Joe's Diner. She didn't leave. She learned nothing from all of this.
But she did start fresh.
I guess.
She painted it. There's a fresh coat of paint. Her life is entirely fixed now, even though she still lives in the same town as the man that she had an affair with and her ex-husband.
It gets really weird when they show up for, I don't know, Taco Tuesday or whatever at the pie shop. Yeah, it's weird. I had the same thought, Alex. I was like, wait, that's not, did she, because at first I thought maybe she went to a different town and opened the pie shop there. But no, because everybody's there. I guess she hired, now her two friends work for her. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, which would screw with your relationship with them. And it also seemed that she fired Cal. I don't remember spotting him.
Are we ready to move this along to real talk? We're ready to put the pies in the oven and see what comes out the other side?
Yes, let's go to real talk for more recipes.
More pie discussion, yes.
Yes.
Spontaneous wedding poetry right now. The title is Yes. Dawn, every time I look at you, I think yes. Yes, we're driven by true love. Yes, I'm more than just hue audits. Yes, I'm poetry, and I'm sex, and I'm living a dream. I am, from now on, whoever you need me to be. Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, Ogie.